Welcome to another episode of the Business of Aesthetics podcast. I'm Michael Walker, your host for today's conversation. As always, I want to thank all of our incredible listeners tuning in from Canada, the United States, and around the globe. Your continued support means the world to us. A special thank you also goes out to our sponsor for this episode, Equa Marketing. With nearly 20 years of experience, Equa Marketing is a leader in digital marketing services for aesthetic practices. They are offering our listeners a complimentary digital marketing consultation, complete with a custom 12-month growth strategy tailored to your practice. You'll be able to head over to the website of the Business of Aesthetics, all one word, businessofesthetics.org/MSM, Michael St. Michael, and you can book your session. I can tell you that this is something really worth doing. I know that Lila that does these, she actually spends a few hours doing some forensic deep dive on some of your digital footprint and really looking at what's going on. And I hear nothing but great things. So I really encourage you to have a look at that and book a session. But now let's dive into today's topic, scaling smart from one location to a thriving membership model with Dominique Waples-Treffel. And we were just talking about her last name and the uniqueness of it. And I'll park that for the moment. But today we're excited to welcome her as an accomplished independent practice owner who has successfully grown her business from a single location to a thriving multi-location operation with more than 1,200 membership patients. Dominique brings a wealth of real-world experience on what it takes to scale smartly. I love that term, Dominique. Without losing, and of course that's the big deal here, the relational side, without losing the personal touch that patients love. In this episode, we'll explore the strategies behind her growth, how she built such a successful membership model, and what practice owners can learn if they're looking to expand sustainably. So if you are ready as our listener, I encourage you to have a pen. There's going to be some great sound bites you're going to be able to grab. You'll be able to get a hold of Dominique's contact information at the end of the podcast. So don't worry, we'll make sure we get you connected up with her. So Dominique, though, it's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Well, I think it's going to be a good one from looking at the questions we have. So let's start at the beginning. Not all the way back to the beginning of when the Waples truffle came from the womb. That might be a little too far back to
Okay,
go.
not
But
that. Okay.
yeah. But kind of let's start at the beginning. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when growing from one location to many? And then how did you manage them?
I would, it is a terrifying thing to go from one to two locations. In fact, going from one to two locations is a lot scarier than going from two to three or three to four, or we're in the process of going from four to five at this point, because frankly, you're doubling. And all of a sudden, you go from I'm here every day with all of my people. I can see what's happening. I know what's going on. I hear when the phone rings, like I hear what's happening at the front desk, to this realization that at best, you're there half the time, you know? And I would say getting over the fear of letting go of, frankly, that kind of control and involvement is the single biggest thing that holds many people back from that first step towards growth. Now, there are certainly other things, operational things, marketing things, financing things, but for most people, I think just getting past the mental block of oh, this is terrifying, the rest of those pieces are they are just steps and you take them one by one.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to start. I mean, that you used the word terrifying. That's pretty intense.
Yeah,
But it's
well, it was
true. I mean,
terrifying.
I've been where you're at. I've done the same. I started a leadership coaching company that we launched across Canada, as
Mm.
well as we also launched into the United States as well. So we had the cold cross-border experience. But it was the, I think the thing that I just went into it like, okay, I got this. I'm going to go. what I forgot to do was to calculate the terrified part.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I was already in, and then I realized just without using the language I did at that moment, I realized, oh crap, I'm in deep here, and
Yeah,
I
here we
can't
go.
be at two places at once. And then we were adding several locations quite quickly. And
Yeah.
you're right, it was terrifying. And one of the things that was huge for me, and we'll get more into that, was that it was all about how well I had empowered my team with our vision and
Mm,
our mission in a way that they could own it, and I didn't have to worry about being mom and dad to it. And
mhm.
that really built the replicatable qualities that carried us across the country. But that was my experience. How about you? Did you find it was did you have the team that was supporting you? Was that critical to that initial terrifying stage?
Well, when we went from one to two, to be quite frank, we did not have the team we needed to go any farther. And that was part of the lesson that I learned through that process. I mean, the team you build, that's the company you build. And so if you're going to build a company that's bigger than, just you or just you sitting in one building to however many locations you have, I mean, it's all about the people. And I mean, for me, I found a real grounding in our values made a huge difference, right? Because when people when people think about decisions that they're making when I'm not there or when other leaders in the company aren't there, and they're asking themselves, well, what would Dominique do? Frankly, that's a problem right in and of itself. I don't want them thinking about what Dominique would do. I want them to make a decision based on the values of the company. And if they can do that, I will always support whatever decision they made. Even if it wasn't exactly what I might have done in the moment, that's okay, right? Now we can talk about the decision. But so finding the right people and really giving them the ability to make decisions for themselves with some parameters, right? That was important. And then the second piece, honestly, like there's an operational piece where it is really important to make sure that you have access to whatever your KPIs are, you know, when you are not in the place. So I mean, there's a variety of different, our tech stack is kind of ridiculous. I wish it was smaller. Um, but by making sure that I have the ability, the insight to see how our businesses are doing when we're not there is also very important.
Yeah, that's a huge. I mean, we're kind of moving down into some of the. We'll get dig into that a little further. I mean, I like, I like your term tech stack. We have a dashboard, and
Mhm.
we said we can only have five things on our dashboard. That's it. No more, no less.
What are your five things? Oh, I gotta know.
And so we just identified we had the five things that we knew we needed to do. But remember, I'm dealing in a coaching, not in an aesthetics practice, which would have
Sure,
different
but what I
numbers.
bet there's crossover.
But we would have, well, the number, you'd be surprised what they were. So obviously the number one was what was was our EBITDA. We tracked that
Okay, sure. Yeah.
as a more of a high end. We tracked our current ratio, so we could keep a handle on our cash. We tracked our we tracked what we called is the client engagement basket. Like what are they buying? It's kind of similar to aesthetics, what they would buy and what kind of packaging we're buying, what the average pack like almost like grocery show, what the average grocery basket had in it and was
Oh,
filled.
sure. Okay, yeah.
And then we tracked customer satisfaction. We had
Yes.
a formula. And finally we tracked uh, the wins. We call it celebrating the wins.
Yeah.
So on the number side, we just had the big, like I knew that if I could keep just the P&L was tracking okay because we have departmental accountability and all that, and the balance sheet was staying like our receivables aren't running crazy, and
Yeah.
we weren't weren't chewing up a lot of cash with buying a whole bunch of stuff. I was able to see that in the current, but the biggest thing was this idea that how are our customers doing and how are our people doing? And
Mm-hmm.
and by having that, it didn't really matter whether we had offices in Atlanta and Jacksonville up in Canada, across Canada, BC and Toronto places. It didn't really matter. I could just look at the dashboard. I could see right away how the culture was functioning in each of those
Mhm.
locations. And we built a whole model around. That's a whole other conversation about celebrating the wins, how we did that, because we recognize that a lot of organizations don't know how to do that. They focus transaction on what they do and how they do it, which are the numbers and the KPIs, which you have to have. You don't have good if you don't track your KPIs, you just run out of money. So, but on the other side of the numbers are the people, and we don't do a good job of really engaging and quote unquote tracking that. So anyway,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's I want you're pulling me into your web here. I see this, Dominique. So I want to go to my next question: scaling
Okay, okay.
strategy. I
Ah,
I love this question because I think it's kind of tying you're going to bridge some of the things you already talked about, but the scaling strategy. What key systems or processes do you think practices need to have in place before they can realistically expand to additional locations? So we've gotten over we've recognized that they're terrified. We've got a level of vision and mission cast that people own it or are empowered by it. Now what are we looking at systemically or process based to actually execute?
mhm. There are some very, I would say, fundamental and probably obvious things that are necessary. The the first, and this is just a purely operational, thing, is if you're going to scale from one location to two, you better have a good inventory tracking system in place. And I mean, in medical aesthetics, we have some very expensive and small and lightweight and easily transportable inventory, you know. And so, and I'm not talking about gauze, right? I'm talking about neurotoxin injectables. We have a list of, and we track it separately, and we track the things that are required for treatments and are very expensive. We track those separately and independently of all of the other things that are in the storage room. So those things get counted every morning and every night, and they're tracked within our point of sale system and throughout the day. And that's important. It's an important thing for the staff to know, just to understand like what drives the business. And that's also very important for a business owner to know because um, things can disappear. So that's really important. I also a process for hiring, onboarding, and offboarding when necessary. I
Mhm.
mean, you're just by its very nature, you're going to have more people, right? So having that process in place is super important. We run on, I don't know if you've ever heard of um, Jeff Smart or the Who book, Who Solve Your Number One Problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I've heard of it. Yeah,
Okay, okay. Well, read it. It's so good. You'll love it. It's so good. It's hilarious. It's
I
an
will.
easy read, but it's also full of incredibly important information. We have a hiring process that's really based on the Who method, and we train all of our managers in it as well. So anyone who hires at Restore works under that, with that process. Also, so okay, so that's your stuff, and that's getting the people in the seats. But now you have to let your customers know you're here, right? So in terms of scaling, having a process that's going to allow you to get your name out there. So these are things that have to do with marketing launch, right? And then also customer retention are very important. So we are a membership-based practice. Our membership system is a very important system for us. So that's one of them. And then that new location launch process is also and that overlaps with membership. Like we have founding memberships, we do some things around early signups and making sure that we have our Google My Business profile up right 90 days before we open, and we can take appointments 60 days before we open, and just, all the things down the line so that our social media is ready and our I could list them all, but that's not the point of this. Like, I would say those are what did I just list? Really four systems um, that are super important to scaling.
Yeah, I think that, and part of the answer to that question, for somebody looking to do this and thinking what systems, what should I, they're writing that down, say, okay, those are the systems. Um, your team also is a vital place of information. They can bring to the table great wisdom around some. We if I said to them, what do you guys think we should look at? Doesn't mean I have to necessarily accept everything they're going to come up with, because the guy that comes up with, well, we need to have a caramel macchiato machine in every office, then that might not be part of the startup. I can receive it and just but I invite him to be feel valued and heard in the process. But I think it's just so there's great wisdom. Well, you said something about this. I love onboarding and offboarding. That we call it onboarding orientation, and we call it help people find the right place to work. That's our offboarding model. And but with that orientation, something that's really important, that whole orientation process that you're talking about on board, that
Mm,
in terms of being able to replicate your culture and the vision and empower people with it,
mm,
onboarding is critical because you just as you say, you overnight you go from whatever number of staff you had to ex, exponentially more. And it's in those transitions of growth where somebody gets the idea that's different than yours and they take one of the lifeboats off the mothership and start to kind of head in their own direction. And that's this whole process. That's why we circle around those celebrate the wins. We know if we can reconnect to the vision of who we are and why we matter, not just what we do and how we do it, we can
mm,
protect the culture and keep the ship tight. And I
mm,
think that's just so important that what you were talking about in those processes, how what if you have you got that established well? Is it working well for you? Are people responding to it well? Is your length of employment growing and doing well? All those kind of things that to really set you up for success in that next season of growth. That makes sense, Dominique?
does that make sense? And does the question make
Yeah,
sense?
just as no as when I was just sharing that. Does that make sense to you? Is that kind of
Oh, yeah,
yeah
certainly does.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
The let's talk about memberships.
okay.
Membership success. You've obviously done well with a thriving membership base of over 1,200. Um,
Mhm.
what's been the secret to making that model work in aesthetics, and how does it support both revenue and patient loyalty?
Mm,
That's the kicker.
that is the key. So, memberships, a lot of people have membership programs. And what that really means is, they got the idea that they would have a membership. They set their membership up in their point of sale software, and then they promptly walked away from it and forgot all about it. And they have, you know, a nominal number of members, I don't know, usually sub 30 members or something like that. That is the typical number that you find when you talk about a membership program. We decided that membership was going to be that we're going to be a membership based business. It was going to be our strategic advantage. It was going to be the way that we built our entire business. And as a result, every single thing that we do at Restore has a component. We are always talking about membership. Like it, our huddles in the morning, we zoom in, like all the different locations zoom in, and we share wins, but we also share numbers. And one of the numbers that's shared every single day by every single office is how many memberships we are up or potentially down for the month. And each location is calling out that number at the beginning of every day. And then also calling out the number of opportunities we have for membership sales in that location for the day. And also the number of opportunities that we won from the previous day, right? So everybody's thinking about it. Everybody's thinking about it all the time. It's just in the fabric of what we do. It's in the pay structures for clinical staff, for administrative staff. It's in the bonus structures. It's every celebration, is going to have to do with membership. So it's everywhere all the time. That's the first most important thing. If you're not talking about it, people just completely, they forget about it. They move on to the next thing. What we have found in terms
Hmm.
of revenue, because that was your second question, right? Revenue and then client
Hmm.
retention. We have found that on average, members spend about like let's call it 15-20% more than non-members. But, and more importantly, they spend 30% more on the gross margin. And what that means is they are doing things that are more profitable for the business. And I have some theories about why that is, but that is an incredibly important component. And lastly, um, they stay around for a really long time because here's the thing, we give our very best to our members. And they have decided to be loyal to us, and now we can give our very best to them. So it's a lovely relationship, right? And they are no longer worried that we're sort of just trying to, like get their money out of them, right? Like when they come into an appointment, that's not the concern. Their money's already there in their membership bank. So the conversation in the treatment room switches from like, okay, what are you trying to get me to buy? To, well, what should I do next with, I've got $500 in my bank or $1,000 in my bank or whatever it is, right? What, hey, expert nurse that I love and trust, what should I do next? And that's a very different conversation. That is the conversation I want our providers to be having and that I want our patients to feel comfortable with. And I believe that that conversation is the core of what leads to that retention and, spend and all of those things. So yeah, membership, team membership, all the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's obviously that is your, we think of brand, and brand is really a relationship to something. Your brand is that relationship to membership, and how that is articulated and built out throughout your practice, and both from what you do and how you do it, and with and who people are and why they matter. I was thinking as you're talking about that, we had a different we in I had a chain of flower shops a long time ago, and
Oh
I
my
did a lot of
gosh.
work around memberships. Yeah, I've had a lot of different things, but that's
Yeah,
another story.
I
But
love
the
that.
but we had I built the flower shop on membership, and
Hmm.
but my I'm I have a really good accountant and financial managers around me, because
Hmm.
I am not as attentive to details as I probably should be as an entrepreneur and owner. But I learned a long time ago that wasn't my sweet spot. It's about getting up in the blue and envisioning just like yourself and seeing that big picture and being able to
Hmm.
bring it down. But for me, memberships, it was three things that I was going after. I knew that it would generate massive amounts of referrals, qualified
Okay.
referrals. It would generate love stories that would just continue to move us up in ranking,
Mm.
and it would be there for the storm surge. There's always going to be a storm day. And in the case of that,
Mm.
where membership, whenever there was a downturn in the different things, we were a victim of that. But we had offsets, and the way the membership worked, we never felt it. And it
Gosh,
was
I
phenomenal.
love
We
that.
actually built it out in a way that we became members in companies where we handled all of their special events flowers, and brought it all into our database to make. They never had to think about it. We pre-priced it and set it out. But then all those people became members of this community, and it was phenomenal. It was I had no int I couldn't have I could have told you the difference between a daffodil and a rose, and that was about it. But I saw the opportunity of the relational capital that was being missed because people were selling flowers, not relationships.
I, you weren't selling flowers, you were selling love stories. I love that. That is so great. We say, so like we're not selling Botox, and frankly, we're not selling memberships. We're making aging optional, which gives people a new,
I love that. I saw that on your website, and
yeah.
folks, you need to. What is your website? Just offhand, I haven't got it in front of me.
Restore Medical Spa. So there's no E on the end of restore,
Right. That was
RESTORE
it. So
Spa.
Restore, you need to check it out. Not right now. Don't leave us. Don't leave
Yeah.
us. But just,
Stay where
I
you
encourage
are.
you to check it out, because they have done it is one of the best aesthetics websites. I've seen a few of them in my time here and all the different things I do in this genre. But yeah, make sure you check it. I love that. Yeah, aging is optional. That's beautiful. It's so true too. It is.
Yeah.
And aging isn't necessarily a physical. It is a physical aspect, but it's an inner self identity awareness piece, which is it's more that.
Mhm.
When you're comfortable with yourself, then aging is optional.
Well, I mean, I'm making that choice. Not everybody has to. It's that's kind of the, I mean, that's how we think about it. It is a choice. It is 100% a choice. You decide how you want to look and how you want to feel, and our job is to help you get there, right? That's
Yeah.
what that's what it means to be in medical aesthetics and wellness, because there are a lot of women who are in their mid 40s and a little older who just don't feel like themselves anymore. And it is transformational to give them their just their lives back, frankly. I mean, and
Yeah.
I mean, it really, I mean, it's a cool industry to be a part of. I
It is.
love it.
Unfortunately, there's like anything. There's people that really they are in the business of selling Botox and shots and all that. But I heard this uh, one lady from New York. We were talking. I loved it. She says, I had this lady and come in. She sat down. She said, you know what? Yesterday I looked in the mirror and I did not recognize who that was. We need to
Mhm.
find that person.
We need to find that, but yeah.
I said, that's it. But
Hmm.
it's not just the Botox. That's part of it. But when you invite them into a membership and the membership really translating to a community of caregivers of
Mm.
integrative wellness that's going to set you to a place you want to get to, not where you're being told to go to. It's a game changer. Beautiful.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, great. So now that now we're really into talking about culture, obviously, and how because this is really how you whatever messaging you carry to your brand will define the culture, and then whatever you define the culture as, and how you are intentional with its structure and its relationships, both with the process as well as the people. Then that will dictate how consistent it is, which is critical when you're going into multiple locations. Consistency is a huge deal. So as your businesses expand, obviously maintaining culture and consistency is tough. It's not easy, and I'm sure it's been tough for you.
Yeah.
How have you ensured patients get the same high quality experience no matter what location they visit?
We have made a decision that we are building a brand. I think that starts there, right? Not everybody makes that decision to start off with. Um, but for us, I mean, even going back to, I don't know, 10 years ago, we went and we did a rebrand because you wouldn't even have wanted to see, like it was so bad. When we originally started, it was, I mean, it was really, I could tell stories, but we'll skip that. But it was awful, but we decided it was important. We were looking to open additional locations and we felt that our brand did not really match the quality of service that we were providing people. And so we started by going, I found um, a marketing company in the area, and I went through so many different portfolios, just looking for one where I felt that the work that she had done really resonated with what I felt was true for Restore and the way I wanted people to see Restore. And so we started off with some of your listeners are familiar with this or not, but it's called just like a brand Bible.
Hmm.
And it's just very simply like the colors, watches, the fonts, the way you use them, the way that's acceptable and not acceptable. And it's probably a 7-page document with nothing, it took a lot of work and a lot of time, but it's a 7-page document. And we have held on to that thing like it was a lifeboat. You know what I mean? Like everything, every email we send out, when we're in Canva, the fonts we use, when we're doing signage, when we're literally looking for furniture for our new locations, it's constantly coming back to that consistent brand. Okay. So just right now, what are we talking about? We're talking about the look and feel. So that's one piece of having a consistent brand but that's true for any business, right? Um, there is also something to be said specifically about medical aesthetics, which often does not happen, and I think is really a shame. where you where like honestly, the laser decks and the injectables you offer and the treatments you offer, they really should be the same across different locations. There is really no excuse for them to be different. I mean, train your people in the same way, have the same equipment. Don't do that thing where you have, you know, the equipment graveyard where there's 15 pieces of equipment in the hallway and nobody even, it's like nobody even knows what to do with it anymore. Just a beautiful, clean, elegant menu and equipment deck is a big piece of consistency. And then, of course, the training on top of that's so important for the providers, especially because it shouldn't matter if you see Michaela in Central Park, or Mallory up in Boulder or whoever. It shouldn't matter. You should get exactly the same treatment. And that has to do with the training that goes into that. And of course, then the client experience, whether it's on the phone or the front desk, I mean, that also requires just a lot of training and just, we're human. We have to be reminded. We have to be trained that when someone walks in the door, like if you know that person, greet them with their first name, right? That might not seem like a big deal, but that one thing, that one little thing right there is a big deal. Greet them with their first name. Get their consents ready, but walk over and get them a bottle of water. We have branded water, like what is that? That now they feel like they're starting to be wrapped up in Restore and they're experiencing what our brand means. So lots of little things, some big ideas, but I'd say those are some pretty important ones.
Yeah, I love that. It's just it's that there's such a there's such intimacy in detail when it's not just driven by the executable side of it, but driven by the relational side.
Mm.
And I think I spent I used to be in the hotel business.
Oh my gosh, you've done
and I
everything,
and I helped set up
Michael.
one of our Canadian five-star brand hotel. I was involved in their in moving in their into their second location. They're closing the first one down as well, but it was really in this new brand, as you're saying. And we were looking at how are we going to position ourselves uniquely different in that industry. And we were benchmarking Ritz-Carlton at the time, but I said, I think we have to find the people that have the most intimate relationship with our customers. And I
Okay.
don't think it's the medical profession. I think it's the front desk. In this case, I said in the hotel, I don't think it's our front desk people. I think it's our housekeepers, our room attendants. So we actually created a system where we reduced the number of rooms that a housekeeper was responsible for. We gave them the authority to be able to purchase things that they recognized were unique to the customer's experience at the
Mm,
hotel. So, for
mm.
example, you stayed overnight at this hotel, Dominique, and the housekeeper comes in the morning, you've headed off to your meetings, and she sees in there, I can't imagine this being in your garbage, but I'll go ahead and say it, but
Okay.
a Coke can and a Mars bar wrapper,
Oh,
and yeah, I don't see it, but it's extreme enough that it's not possible. So, but the reality is, then when that guest comes home, when you come back to your home, we called it a home, the what was sitting on the counter?
okay.
A can of Coke
Yeah.
and a Mars bar with a note from the housekeeper, not the general manager, saying, "Dominique, thank you so much for trusting us with your stay,"
I
or
mean,
whatever.
that's lovely.
And we saw it, we had tickets done, all kinds of unique things. And then we
Yeah.
created teams around to support the housekeepers and fed the wins all the way up through the whole organization that way.
Mm,
And I think in your practices,
mm,
the front office, that reception, the concierge, I would call it at the front of the house,
mm,
they have so much information available to them if they observe it that they could track and put it in a CRM, a customer relationship module, and be able to when somebody comes in and they want that special ball or they have a cookie or whatever, you already got it set up.
mm.
You're setting it up for them. They just feel like they're in a Michelin four-star restaurant.
Well, you know what? I would encourage you to beat that drum and go. Can we just talk right now to the companies that build these CRMs in our industry? We need more places to put that kind of information that is readily available at check-in.
Yeah.
Um, I have not seen any of them, frankly, do it well.
Yeah,
It's
I have
hard.
not
It's a lot
really,
harder than it should be because that should be so easy to do.
and it's such it's I call it relational capital.
Hmm.
It really is the the foundation. It's the gold bars that are of your business. And it just some places, because there's been, initially in this industry when we first started, everybody was doing everything, was trying, and there was and there was more than enough customers, and it didn't really matter. Well, we'll just get a new customer. That's not quite the way it is anymore. And operators like yourself, you never took that approach. However, it's I always say, that it's acceleration is a question is about how fast you want to hit the wall, and momentum is about how far do you want to move it. And I feel like you're a momentum girl. It's about momentum, you're moving your industry to a place where that relational capital will start to drive the organization, not how many Botox shots got purchased.
It is about really, it's all about relationships. I 100% believe that.
Yeah. So today and what we're talking about in scaling and growing, I mean, the question really is making that decision of what do you what Dominic was just talking about with the investing in the brand. What is your brand? We always say the question that I put forward to um, that makes it kind of a simple way to think of brand is what are you passionate about?
Mhm.
What are your core values that are non-negotiable, and what do you want your story to be in 5 years from now?
Yeah.
And that's where we start from. And it's this
I think
idea.
that that is absolutely true. And when you're thinking about how you take that from one location to another, you better also make sure. I mean, it's not your logo. Your brand is not your logo. It's a lot more than that, but most people just miss even that part, I think. I like when I have seen in medical aesthetics. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it I mean, we are making aging optional. That is our mantra. It's our drum that we're beating. It's not about an individual type of product. It's about we will stay on the cutting edge and we will be the experts that will make sure that you have, client, patient, the best possible care going forward as long as you trust us with your face and your health. And that's as long as our patients hear that, right? And they always walk into a beautiful lobby. And the scent is the same it doesn't matter which location they're in, and they're always going to be greeted. And they can always call in to the main phone numbers. It's not like, well, I'm talking to the Central Park office. They don't have my files from Lohi. No, anybody can always go in and pull up anything that client wants to talk about or needs. Like we are one entity serving that patient. So, I mean, I've just seen so many why should I, I'm going to do it. Plastic surgery offices, especially where it's like the med spa is totally different, or the place across town is really just a satellite office. It doesn't have that same feel and that same importance as the quote main office. And why? I mean, if you really want to grow and expand, you have to do it that every place needs to feel just like home. Like you're saying, home. It's not a hotel room, it's home. Everyone needs to feel like that. So,
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, well, you and I are cut from a very similar cloth. So it's kind of easy to, but something I've learned about medical professionals is two things. One, that most of them are accidental entrepreneurs. It's not their fault. It's just their circumstances. If they took a business course in medical training, it was by mistake or because they couldn't get what they wanted. Um, and there's always an exception to the rule. And then, and then medical professionals are also are limited communication experts. I'm just going to put it nicely, because again, they're not trained. It's not part of the culture to be putting relate. I work a lot in the aesthetic space. I also work in the veterinarian space, and just the medical professionals and plastic surgery for that matter. But I my constant challenge is for them to be able to to not just let the transactional side of what they do and how they do it drive the relational space, who they are and why they matter, and the communications that has to happen. And it's just it's hard, but you have to everything that Dominique is saying, she didn't do overnight. I
Mhm.
guarantee that it's taken time. I'm not sure how long it's taken, but this is the thing that when you hear something like this, the temptation is either to get overwhelmed by, well, I'll never do it, or to say, what is the one thing, what's the next right steps? What one thing I could do when I get off this podcast? What's one thing I could do differently to move something forward, start progress? And really, and just pull it back down to what Dominique said. What are the steps that she said? Remember, this is recorded. You'll be able to, you're hearing this as recorded. You can re-listen to it, grab this information. But you have heard some great tips from Dominique on some of the fundamentals that need to go into this to plan a great expansion. And I want to just kind of shift into a question as I watch our time on some advice for owners from you, Dominique. And so for practice owners who are dreaming of scaling beyond one location, which we're hoping a lot of the folks that are listening to this probably are, but they feel a little overwhelmed, maybe even terrified, to use your word.
Yeah.
What practical first steps or next right steps, I would say, would you recommend?
Well, if you're gonna, the first thing you need, okay, so if you're gonna open up a second location, I'm assuming that you have the money and the finances to make that happen, right? But if you do, then the location, right? They say about finding a second location, you need to make sure that you're going in, like, this is um, what was told to me when I had one location, and I do think it's true, is like you are not going out there and trying to do something completely new and different. You, your second location should be rinse and repeat. Okay. You want to find the same kind of client base that you have already had proven success with, right? And what does that mean? Well, maybe it's the same type of neighborhood, right? Where you have the same, literally the same kind of families, the same kind of health clubs, the same kind of grocery stores. I mean, go find the same kind of community
Hmm.
and make sure that it's not going to cannibalize your existing client base.
Yeah,
So 85 to 90% of our members, right? So we're membership based, of our members are within a 15 to 20-minute drive time, okay? Drive time. That is not number of miles, drive time. All right. So if you think about where you want to put your second location, don't put it within that 15 to 20-minute drive time of your existing one, right? Like go drop it half an hour away in terms of a drive time at least so that you're not cannibalizing. So those are some very like because you've got to figure out where you're going to put it before you can even start looking for the physical space. Because the first thing your broker is going to ask you is, well, what are you looking for? So,
yeah, I mean, location again, have been in the restaurant business as well, and they are not, they are just a disaster waiting to happen if you're not there 24/7. That was the saying we used. But but what's interesting, you talked about rinse and repeat, this idea. What I think is important to our listeners is what are you rinsing and repeating? And I think it's really important. What are the fundamentals that your success is built on?
I would say when I say rinse and repeat, I am talking about patient demographics almost exclusively. You want to
Okay.
find the same people. Why? Because you know they love you. You know you can sell the things that you do to them. So go find the same people, rinse and repeat the client base. And then
Excellent.
you can literally just build the same business, right? You build that you don't have to change everything. You don't want to. You're already successful. Go build the same one 30 minutes away.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Dominique, our time is coming to an end, and I was thinking as we've been talking, one of in the leadership company that I had and I've sold, I we developed what we called influential leaders. That was our
Mm.
brand. And an influential leader is you. An influential leader is someone who gives somebody something they don't even know they need or want. But once they have it, they can't imagine living without it. And then they can't wait to give it away. So you are a graduate of our institute, just on the way you have shared your story today. Thank you so much. So appreciate your time and your insights on scaling smart from one location to a thriving membership model. Your journey from a single location practice to a multi-location practice with a strong membership program, it's been inspiring, it's been practical, and I know that our listeners are going to be taking away some valuable lessons here. And just a reminder that we mentioned it before, and I pulled it up here where we're talking. So you make sure you check out, or you can reach Dominique through Restore without an E, restoremedicalspa.com, and that's how you can reach her. And I just encourage you to check that out and have a look at everything you've heard her talk about. It just is translated beautifully on that website.
To get in touch with me specifically, I would encourage our listeners to reach out to me on LinkedIn. That is my social, media network of choice. And I
I
do, post
absolutely.
and write about some of these things as well. So, Dominique Waples Truffle, that's it. There's probably only one of
She
me.
said that really quickly, but Dominique Waples Treffel, Waples hyphen
Mhm.
Trefil. But you'll find her I found her that way, and it's my neighborhood's there too. So I hang out there, uh,
Yeah.
and so we've crossed paths there as well. So um, it's a great place for if you're not part of that business community with LinkedIn. You should be. I'm not here promoting. I don't get anything for LinkedIn, but it is a great place to build network, to get great best practices, and quite often amazing clients.
Mm.
So to our listeners, thank you again for tuning in. We couldn't do this without you. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your friends and colleagues in the aesthetics community. And don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast program. We love reviews, and so should you. Your feedback helps more people discover the podcast and, of course, benefit from these conversations. Before we sign off, a special thank you again to Equa Marketing, who is our sponsor for this episode. And as you recall, remember, don't forget to book your digital marketing consultation. It's completely free. There's no hooks or tricks to it. It's just an opportunity for someone to do a deep dive, have a look at your digital footprint, come back with a 12-month custom plan, give you an idea of what's working, what might not be, and what you can improve on. And you can go to businessofesthetics.org/MSM. That'll also be, you'll find that link on where you picked up this podcast. It should be there as well as a hot link. But until next time, keep innovating, keep growing, and keep delivering amazing experiences for your patients. And on behalf of Dominique, wishing all of you a fantastic and blessed week ahead. Mike Walker, till next time.